you've read The Blizzard. What did you read?
I read the one where they read the Blizzard also.
Okay, very good. Well, I'm glad. Well, some of you haven't read it yet, and so I hope this is something that interests you. How many of you guys like horror or the creepy kind of genre? Yeah, that appeals to a lot of us. So I teach 8th grade over at Riverwood Middle School, and so one of the reasons, before I show you the book trailer, one of the reasons I started writing this book and writing stories in general is because the students would come into my classroom and we would have something to read, and then they'd have to do the plot elements and literary elements, all that sort of stuff that you guys do. And then sometimes out of the book they'd be like, Miss Daly, this is just boring. These are boring stories and I don't like to read them. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take care of that. So I started writing my own stories, and they were like, these are good. Now we can work with these. And so that's when I started writing the stories, and I kept on writing them. So, I've tried all these stories out on my own students over this year and over the years before, and I was like, you know what, I want to give the opportunity to other English teachers to be able to do that as well. So that's why I decided to publish it. So it's on Amazon right now. You can get the paperback version, which is $7.99, or the Kindle version, which is $4.99, $0 if you have Kindle Unlimited. But it's been fun. So I published last month, and it's just been a great kind of journey that I've been on. So I put a book trailer on here. So I want to show you guys the book trailer. Myself and my own children, who are in 9th grade and 10th grade, put this together. It's kind of funny. It's kind of campy. But let's watch this, and then we'll go from there. And then I will have time for questions too. Ooh, sound.
Second, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I should have told you ahead of
It's
time.
okay. We had another big speaker yesterday, and it's not. Let's try it out.
Harvard, here we go.
Do you like scary things? Do you like the thrills and chills that accompany a good scary story? If the answer is no, then don't buy this book. But if the answer is yes, then be my guest and enter the inner workings of my mind. Have you ever been trapped in a snowstorm, stuck in a cabin with a psycho outside? Have you ever been walking by the woods, felt like someone was watching you? You probably were. Have you ever had a friend that was a little too nice? Beware. All of this and more is a 6-short story in my book. Don't think I can scare you? I bet I
I guarantee Tiffany.
If you can look closely, you can see 2 girls back in there. So once you read the book and look back and watch that trailer, you can say, okay, that story goes with that, and that clip goes with that story, and stuff like that. So it looks kind of random now, but. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to read one of the stories, and then have you guys respond to it, and then ask any questions. And I was also going to share a little bit with you about the writing process that we went through. So since a couple of you guys have already heard The Blizzard, I'll read this one. The first one in here, it's called The Athlete. So in this book, there's 6 of these stories. So here we go. This one's called The Athlete. Grandma has always said that she was so proud of me, that I am a star, that I was given a gift of athleticism that most people in this world aren't blessed with. Grandma is my biggest fan. and I believe she is right about my ability to be the best volleyball player that ever lived. All of these things are running through my head as I step up to the line and get ready to serve across the net. I feel all eyes on me, but there's only one person that truly matters right now, and that's Coach Ricks. He's a great coach. He's super tough on us and expects the highest level of play. That's what I'm here to give him. As I see him watching me out of the corner of my eye, I think about my grandma's positive words once again, then toss the ball in the air and swing. The ball goes straight into the net. It feels like my heart just fell down to my stomach. I hear one of the other girls on the side go, oof. Okay, this is rare for me, but it happens to everybody, right? So I quickly grab another ball and toss it again and swing. What in the world? I did it again. It hit the net in almost the exact spot the first one did. I couldn't have done that same thing twice. I'm a failure. I'm a junior in high school and right now run the risk of not making the school team. I'm suddenly more nervous than I ever have been. I will be completely and utterly devastated if I don't make the team this year. I've always made the team. It's the stupid new girl, Brandy, that just moved here from some idiot school in Columbus. Why did she have to move to our school district? She plays the same position as me and she's pretty good, so I know that my place on the team is at risk. I have to play my butt off at these tryouts to outdo Brandy. After my 2 failed serves, it was Brandy's turn to show what she could do. She walked up to the line, too confidently in my opinion, and I swear she smirked at me. Maybe my mind was playing tricks on me, but I'm pretty sure she was directing that right towards me, teasing me, letting me know that I'm less than her. She throws the ball up in the air and smashes it across the net. It lands towards the back line, but definitely within bounds. I heard Coach Rick say, wow, that was like a bullet. I hate her, I hate her, I hate her. We were to have 2 days of tryouts before Coach Ricks would make his decision about who he wanted on his varsity team. Day 1 sucked. It was awful. If I was going to get the position on the team, I was going to have to really step it up the next day. I needed to talk it through with Grandma. She was the one person in the world that I could depend on to tell me the truth, and every time I spoke with her, I would always walk away feeling better about myself. Grandma had a way with words, and she had a perfect way of seeing the world. She was my guide and provided me with the direction I needed to get through these sometimes terrible high school years. I walked over to Grandma's and sat down beside her. She didn't ask me anything at first. I guess she could tell by my demeanor that the tryouts had been less than spectacular. I had never felt worse about myself, and more than anything felt hatred towards the new girl. Grandma didn't like the new girl either after I told her that she had smirked at me. My grandma was so sweet, and for her not like anyone was huge. But she protected me like no other. And she did not like it when someone messed with her granddaughter. That girl doesn't deserve to even be on the same court as you, honey. She needs to go back to where she came from. How dare someone come in and bully my granddaughter? Darling, you know you are the superior athlete. You are Grandma's favorite athlete, and you will do whatever it takes to make this team. But what if I don't, Grandma? What if I continue to do terrible in these trials and Brandy makes it instead of me? What if she gets my spot? Grandma replied, be smart, girl. You have to do whatever it takes to keep that spot. You're good enough. You need to think about this and think outside of the box. What do you mean, think outside of the box? Grandma lowered her voice and spoke slowly. If you can't beat her on the court, maybe beat her off the court. I instantly knew what Grandma was saying. I had to take matters into my own hands. I left Grandma's and I was already feeling better. I was feeling as if my steps were lighter. She had helped me figure it out, just like she always does. Grandma always has the best advice. The next day was the last day of our tryouts. I knew that I had to do something because the team list would be posted online by 7 p.m. I had Brandy's number and I texted her to see if she wanted to meet after school, before tryouts. I guess she was really eager to make new friends because she texted me back quickly. She said that hanging out would be fun. I told her to meet me at the local ice cream shop and we would walk back to tryouts from there. Brandy met me at 4 p.m. at the shop. She looked excited and it suddenly flared my anger and rage again. She was so excited because she had to know she was going to take my spot on the volleyball team. That was my spot. I listened to her talk and talk and talk, and I acted like I cared and was paying attention, But in the back of my head, I kept thinking about what Grandma told me. That if I couldn't beat her on the court, it would have to be off the court. Once we finished our ice creams, we started our walk back to the school. We went the long way because I told Brandy I wanted to show her different parts of the neighborhood. You know, show her around the place, get her comfortable with it. We walked through the wooded trail that went all around our neighborhood. It was quiet today and already started to get dark at 4:45. The more Brandy talked, the angrier I became. She felt so safe. It's like she came out of nowhere to my school, invaded my team, and now safely believes she would be on the team. She had the happiest look on her face and acted like she didn't have a care in the world. Until I pushed her off the bridge to the rocks below.
What? I think she meant beat her up.
I showed up to tryouts and Brandy wasn't there. Coach and the girls were all wondering why she would skip the last day of tryouts. Coach seemed really disappointed, almost angry. As for me, I could hardly contain my joy. She was gone and wouldn't be coming back. I was feeling great, and it showed in the way that I played in tryouts that day. My serve was back, my blocks were back, I was back. Grandma would be so proud. I made the team. I couldn't wait to share the news with Grandma. As soon as I saw the team numbers posted, I ran over to tell her. She is so happy for me. She knew I could do it. Grandma always believes in me. Suddenly I see blue lights. What in the world is going on? Police are getting out of their cars and walking slowly towards me. What is happening? They tell me I'm under arrest for the murder of Brandy? As they pulled me off Grandma's tombstone, I smiled, knowing that Grandma will take care of this for me. She always does.
That escalated. Grandma.
Bro, that one.
That went too far. I think she meant beat her up, not kill her.
Not just that.
All right, so your initial thoughts on
The girl
this.
was dead.
That was crazy.
The entire time.
Like, hear about the tombstone they pulled
Okay,
her off.
so
That was a good story.
who would like to predict something for me? Who's good at that? So let me ask you a question then. When she went on a walk with Brandy, what did you predict was going to happen?
I thought she was gonna take her into the woods and then. That's what I thought was gonna happen.
What did you think was going to happen?
I thought she was gonna run into a different direction or leave her there.
Oh, leave her there, okay? And so then she wouldn't show up to trials anyways because she was just going to be late or not there, or leave her lost or something like that.
That was
Okay.
That's not a good one.
Yes.
I just thought she was gonna get to know her.
She thought she was going to get to know her. You were very nice about that. So I think, guys, a part of a suspenseful or scary story sometimes is when we necessarily can't predict what's going to happen next, right? When it comes out of the blue and it's like, ooh, I didn't see that happening. Because I think that that was probably what you guys thought a couple of times during the story. What's that? Did you? Not many people do that, actually. So you already had a feeling that she was,
Going to die.
that Grandma was dead already. So did you guys understand the final part, that Grandma was already dead?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many people-
So what do we think's wrong with the
It's clearly
narrative?
she's mentally unstable if her grandma was dead from the beginning.
And she sees her? Oh, no.
So what kind of relationship does she have with her grandma?
She apparently has like a strong. They ain't got a relationship.
That or she's mentally unstable.
Well, I think she is mentally unstable. I think when you hurt someone like that, that's true.
Especially when you're getting advice from a ghost.
Like, why would she so like? She just like.
Advice from a ghost.
She wasn't gonna make it.
Grandma, what should I do? Kill her.
I'll be back in 20 minutes.
You're thinking, yeah? Right, right. So let me tell you a little bit about the background of that story. So there's 6 stories in here, and they're all kind of around the same thought there. I have students that I've seen come into the library and get the ones off the shelf in there and finish it, within an hour. So it could totally be done. But this particular story, so my daughter plays volleyball, but she's never thrown anyone over a bridge for a position before. But years ago, I was reminded of a story because I know some of these super athletes or whatever, it's a very competitive world out there, right? As far as like school sports and all that sort of stuff, people like really get into this stuff. And there was a story a few years ago about this cheerleader, it was a Texas cheerleader story or whatever. And this is cheerleading mom, and she didn't think that her daughter was gonna make a team. So she actually ran over another girl, another cheerleader, true story. And so I always thought that was so awful. I was like, that's the worst thing I've ever heard of. What kind of parent would do that? And so then I started thinking about it. My own daughter plays volleyball. And so I kind of made it, I put it in there in some way of somebody that would go to those measures to do something like that was completely psycho. And then the walk in the shops and at the ice cream shop, I thought of Riverwood. If you've ever been in the Riverwood subdivision, it has the shops in there, it has the ice cream shop, the Pelican Snowballs, and then it's got the woods around it with the trail. So I was like, oh my gosh, my kids will totally understand where I'm coming from with this, because they walk to the shop before practice, and then after it, they use the trails to get back home. So, I mean, they could totally see this in their minds happening right then. So it's funny though, all of my students, they have a different one of these stories that is their favorite. So some of them love this one, the athletes, some of them love the blizzard, some of them, they just connect with it a different way. When I start writing, I just sit down and I knock it out. One day during map testing, my kids were map testing or whatever, and I sat at my desk and I knocked out one of these stories just during that. I mean, eventually I had to make some edits or whatever, and then I always read it to my kids, and when I read it to my students, they're like, that's good, Miss Daly, but what if, and they'll tell me something, and I'm like, that's a great idea, I'm gonna use that. And then I'll end up putting their name in it or something like that. So they give me some great ideas, because this age has some ideas that I've never thought of at my age before and or growing up. My dad was a great, phenomenal, I actually dedicated this book to him, phenomenal storyteller. There was 4 of us kids, and he used to sit around and tell us these stories that would literally, like, scare the snot out of us. Like, we would always be so scared, and then he'd be like, all right, bedtime, and we'd be like, oh my God, can't go to bed now, you just told me that horrible story just now. So it was just kind of the way I've been raised, and the way that I've grown up with all of that spookiness. So what did you guys think? Give me some honest feedback on your thought about the athlete. Yes, sir. Go ahead. Don't be shy. You thought what? Anybody else while he gets it together?
I thought, I didn't, it was like starting off like easy, just went down.
Yeah. Surprise.
It
Went too dark.
so quick.
I think that's
Yeah. So, what are the genres that you guys are preferring right now for the readers out there, or what do you like? Whether it's something you read or movie genres or whatever, what are you guys really into these days as far as that goes? Adventure, scary. Raise your hand if you like the thrillers, the thriller type books.
I know where the most big with our
I like the books that have usually this like.
Pictures in them? Yeah, you're not the only one.
I don't like them like reading.
Raise your hand if you don't like to read.
Oh my god. I'm not
That's a
gonna lie.
shame.
I'm not gonna lie.
I like reading, but just not out loud.
Yeah, not all.
I agree.
I'm really bad at reading.
I agree. All right, so any questions that you have for me?
Yeah, I've seen him read.
Yes. Have I experienced any of the scariness? Yes, I have. I've experienced some weird things, but it's kind of the way
Let me engrave
that I look at the world too. So it's not like I'm looking for scary things to happen necessarily, but I think that I appreciate them when they do. I'll tell you a quick story that actually happened to me, if you're willing. So I was in 8th grade at the time, and my friend and I, let's see, I don't write this story in the book. I don't think I have this in the book. No, but I'll probably put it in the next one. But my friend and I were going, I was having a sleepover at a friend's house. Well, their friend down the road, their grandmother had just died. And so they wanted to go over and take a casserole over, because that's what, people do. And so they were gonna take casserole over, so they said, y'all come with us. So we went over to the grandma's house or whatever, and we were tired of listening to everybody talk about, oh, I'm sorry that this happened, da, 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 da. So, this was in the mountains of North Carolina, so everybody lived on a mountain. And so, I was like, let's get out of here, this place is like depressing right now. And she was like, okay. So we walked into one of the rooms and grabbed a flashlight and walked down the hill, sat at a pond or whatever, and down there just talking, getting away from all the adults. And so my friend, her name is Sarah, she looked over at me, she was like, I don't wanna freak you out, Caroline, but this was the grandma's favorite place to go, was down here. I'm like, right here, right now? And she was like, yeah, it was getting dark outside. I was like, really wish you wouldn't have told me that, because that kind of freaks me out. She's like, you'll be fine. She started laughing about it or whatever. So it kept getting a little darker. I was like, let's head on up now, because I'm a little creeped out about the whole situation. So she was like, okay. So we started walking back up the hill, and it was getting dark, and so we turned on the flashlight that we had gotten from one of the rooms or whatever, and it, worked, and it led us all the way up. So we get to the top, back up to the house or whatever, and the moms come running out. Where have you girls been? What have you? Well, we were just down at the pond. We were just chill out. Sorry we didn't tell you. We were just down there. We were looking everywhere for you, and it's dark, and we didn't know, where you were. Blah blah blah. You've got to tell. We were like, okay. Okay, we're like, we have this flashlight, we got up just fine. And the lady that owned the house, whose mother had just died or whatever, she was like, where did you get that flashlight? And we were like, in that room over there. And she was like, that was grandma's flashlight. She got it at this yard sale a couple of months ago. She was like, but the thing never worked. She was like, and I asked her, why do you want this? It just never worked. And we were like, yeah, it actually does work. I said, we just used it all the way up the hill. She looked at it and she opened it up. She was like, how's that gonna work without any batteries in it? And so we were like, looked at each other like this right here. And so I was like, watch it. It's got a glitch in it or something. I know that it works. And so I put the cover back on, tried to turn it back on, would not come up. So that's a true story of something that has happened. Can I explain that? I can't. Maybe it was a glitchy something with the flashlight. I don't know, but we couldn't get it to rework once we shut it
I
off.
played on my Xbox for an entire hour.
But we had talked about grandma down there. Use that flashlight. Okay. It was very creepy. So raise your hand if you've ever had an instance in your life that you just can't explain. Something happened, you just can't explain it. That's where these stories come from. It's like something has happened, it's kind of unexplainable. Why did she have that relationship with her dead grandma? It's kind of unexplainable. Leave it to a therapist to figure out. I don't know.
The grandma was the
So, question.
Is it okay if I give you a story?
Yeah, of course.
So I was wondering if you knew a story where a couple years.
This is story idea, guys. Story idea.
So a couple of years ago, someone died. Somebody's going in their house, sneaking around and stuff. They walk out of the house, and an old guy walks out, and he scares them. They run away. They tell their parents, and it turns out the person that owned that place was dead for a couple 100 years. And the kids thought that he was alive.
They had met him,
Yeah.
but he was dead for a couple 100 years.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I could work with that.
You have makeup names and everything.
Yeah, right,
Yeah, and obviously it's a lot longer.
right. That's a good one. Any other questions, guys? Yes.
Spooky
What
story.
is the best way to deal with writer's block?
Ooh,
It's actually-
who knows what writer's block is? No, good question.
Yeah, I
Like other age.
So writer's block is when you literally have a brain block. Let's say you're taking a test one day, you really know this information, but it is lost. You've lost somewhere, you've gotten nervous or a little anxiety about it, you're like, I forgot everything. I knew it, I studied, I forgot everything. That's similar to what writer's block is, where writer's block is, you just can't think of what comes next. And when that happens to me, it actually happened last week because I'm working on something new now, It's gonna be, a chapter book. It's gonna be more of a novel. And so, I was writing, and I was like, wait a second, where's this gonna go? Because I don't necessarily know exactly where it's gonna go when I start, and so it wasn't speaking to me. Like, the characters weren't speaking to me right then, and I was like, I'm just gonna put it on pause right now. I'm just gonna step away from the desk, step away from my computer or whatnot. And it was about 2 days later before an idea where I want these characters to go, it just came to me, and I was like, that's perfect, that's gonna be great. So, I'll come back when I get that written. But, I think it's gonna be really good. It's I think going to be called I Hate High School. It's about all these people, every different person. You've got the nerdy, geeky person, you've got the cheerleader, you've got the outcast, you've got everybody that can come together in a high school, and what you don't know is that they all hate it, for all different reasons. And if they only turn around and talk to each other at some point, they'd realize how much they have in common. But they only associate with the people that shop at the same place they do, which is kind of high school, isn't it? So, but yes, I just take a pause to answer your question. I take a brief pause, and then wait till it comes to me. Good question. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Okay, good question. So I did through KDP Publishing, and it had to do a short review process. Mine was short because my books are pretty short, so it didn't take them long to review that. I also got it copyrighted, my intellectual property copyrighted with the United States, and so no one could steal my ideas or whatever. So the actually publishing part was pretty easy. They've got the way the KDP Publishing does it, it was really easy, and I got to design how I wanted it to look, and I was always kind of intimidated by that process. Like, I've got a lot of ideas, and I've written down a lot of ideas over the years, but I've never gone that extra step and published it, so I thought it was going to be a lot harder than it actually ended up being, which is a lesson for all of us, because sometimes you just gotta just do it, go for it, and when you do, you're like, wow, I really did that. And you feel so accomplished, feel so good about that. So that was in a nutshell. It was a lot easier. It's like 99% easier than I thought it was going to be. So, and then like Amazon, I know some of you guys are wondering, like, how do you get paid? Like on Amazon or whatever. And I know that's probably not one of your questions, but it might be what you're thinking, because all my students ask me the same thing. So I'll go ahead and tell you. Amazon pays you out what they call as royalties, right? So they print the book, and they send it out to people, and the shipping and stuff like that, and then what I get paid off it is called royalties. And they pay out royalties once every 2 months. So that's kind of how that works. And then what happens is, like the Kindle version, that goes, well, the paperback can go all over the world too, but the Kindle version is on different markets. It's like on Amazon UK, United Kingdom, Amazon.com, Amazon, all the different Amazons. And what they do there, funny enough, I had no idea they did this, is they pay you by page read. So if somebody downloads your book on their phone and reads all through it, then I would get paid for all of those pages. If they read the first 2 pages, I would get paid the first 2 pages. I don't know why they do that. It's just how they do it. So they have just a different way to pay out on that. Now paperback, of course, I'd get paid for that a separate way. So I will tell you, it's nothing that I'll probably ever get crazy rich on. It's been a labor of love. I've liked doing that, and I went in my library the other day, and I saw these little 6th graders gathered around, and their little feet didn't even touch the floor on the couches or whatever, and they were all sitting there reading my book. And this one kid came up to me, and he was like, "You're really creepy." And I was like, "Thanks." And not used to that, but he said, "I don't like to read, and I don't like books." He was like, "This is the only book that I've ever read before." I was like, "Well, do you like it?" He's like, "Oh yeah." So that makes me feel really good to know that kids are reading something for the first time, and it might be the only book they've ever read. Like I said, I teach 8th grade, and by the time kids get to me, sometimes the first book that they read from front to back is in my class, which is a shame. I get it. There's other things that you could be doing, like being on your phone and stuff like that. I get it. We're watching Netflix. I do the same thing. I'm there. But your brain gets better the more you read. It really does. If I go for a while without picking up a good book that I like reading, I could feel myself like thinking slower. I really, like, that happens to me. The more that I read, I'm like sharper. I'm on my toes more. 100% it happens. So, just FYI there. Yes?
Do you ever go over and read your own book?
Oh yeah, I have to read my own book. I have to read it. I will tell you this much. I had started advertising my book before I even got a copy. And after I did it, and after people had like pre-ordered or whatever, I'm like, what have I done? I was so scared that it was going to look like poop when I got it. I really was. I was sitting there, I was laying in my bed at night, I'm like, oh my God, what if everybody has bought this book and it comes in, it's gonna be all jacked up and like, you know, everything's gonna be wrong, there's gonna be misspelled words, and I was just like having a straight up panic attack for like a couple days. And then it came in, and I was at a meeting over in Smithfield, and my daughter called me. She had gotten home from school. She's nice. She got home from school a little earlier, and she was like, Mom, your book just came in. And I was like, I need you to read the whole thing right now and make sure that there's like no errors in there, no spelling errors. She's like, Mom, I'm not going to read your whole book right now. Like, I've got things to do. And I'm like, please. And I was like, how does it look? Does it look jacked up? Because she would tell me, because she's one of those people that's really honest with you and will tell you when you like look awful. She's kind of a good friend to have, but kind of mean too. And so she said it passed her approval thing, and she wouldn't lie about it. So I felt a little bit better. But once I saw it in my hand, I realized that I will never do that again. As far as tell people about it before I have it in my hands, because I just wanted to make sure that it looked okay. But I feel like I was going to tell you something else about that. I went off on a tangent.
What?
It'll come to me. Yes.
What was your favorite part about making the book?
My favorite part of it was, oh gosh, you know what? It was at Thanksgiving this past year. I went home back to the mountains in North Carolina, and I read one of the stories to my dad. I said, Dad, I'm going to be publishing a book. And he was like, all right. And he's, like I said, the master storyteller. And I read one to him. He was like, that was really good, Caroline. He was like, you should put it in a book. And like, that was one of my happy times for somebody that I had listened to all my life telling me that he was entertained by what I wrote. That felt really good. So that was one of my happy times. And also when I was finally holding it in my hands, and when I see it on people's bookshelves, that feels really good too. I like that. Yes?
What role, if any, did your students play in helping you make the book?
They played a big role. They were my feedback, because you middle schoolers are brutal sometimes, and I appreciate that. And I have a really good relationship with all my students, and they'll tell me, ooh, I like that, but, or maybe this should be added or whatever. And so they really helped me with it. There's one story in there especially, it's called The Hiding Place. And it's about this janitor that's super creepy and walks with a limp, and he's just kind of, everyone looks in the school and just like, ugh. And my students, I had 2 students in particular with that were like, make him scarier, Ms. Daly. You need to like talk about like his skin and stuff like that. And I was like, you're right, I need to. And so I made them the 2 main characters in that story. So they helped me with that. Yes, ma'am.
Are you planning on writing more books?
I am. So I'm writing one right now. Like I said, the chapter book, and that's going to be more of a novel, probably about 30,000 words in it or something like that. So I'm a 1/6 of the way through that right now. You know what? If you're passionate about something, it's easier to do. Like it just comes naturally to you. Yes, ma'am.
What got you started in writing?
What got me started writing this one, or just at all? In general, I've written stuff all my life. I remember the first time I ever wrote something. I was about 5 years old, and I wrote a play. And I just kind of put it on my shelf, and my sister, older sister, came into my room, and she's like, Caroline, what's this? I said, I wrote a play. She was like, no, you didn't. You've copied this from somewhere. Mom, and she took my play and took it to my mom. She was like, she's copying stuff. And my mom came in. I don't know why I was so bad. I was 5 years old. But I was like, I swear to you. And they thought I'd copied it. And I was like, no, I wrote this. I wrote this play. And so ever since then, I've just kind of been jotting things down and writing things. And
Pardon this interruption, students and staff, please pay attention to the following important announcements. Hey, it's almost Valentine's Day. We have extended our Swift Creek flower grants for one more day. Come purchase yours Monday, February 10th between 7:35 and 8:05 in the morning for $1.